Hello, this is Kathleen from the World Economic Federation. Today we will be discussing an aspect of this project that means a lot to John due to a personal connection. His father served on the boards of many cultural groups, including the Portland Center of the Performing Arts, the Oregon Symphony, Oregon Public Broadcasting, and others. In a previous video, we discussed the Federation Arts Program. This video, in a sense, is an extension of that, but in support of already existing artistic and cultural institutions, rather than the more bespoke programs that are specific to the Federation's objectives. Part of the reason for this emphasis on these programs is the influence of various mentors in John's life. When you watch these videos and you see finance, trust, or governance in play, there is a good chance that you are seeing something at least influenced by these mentors. For economics, it was his godfather, who was a retired economics professor. His interest in funding libraries comes from his librarian godmother's influence. His friends' parents were homemakers, administrators, and doctors, and influenced the healthcare program. You can see the mark of a physics teacher on the science program and that of a fencing coach on the community center athletics programs. Add to that the NCOs that mentored him in the Army, and you find quite a contrast to today's youth, who often struggle to find people willing to support and mentor them. In terms of mentors, John had an embarrassment of riches over the years. While John was not told about his ASD until he was in his 40s, he knew about the ADHD, dyslexia, and dysgraphia, as those are pretty difficult to mask. These traits made a school environment very difficult for him, as they would expect him to stay still and just listen. While he did eventually graduate high school at 19, he did not learn much of value from it. What he learned was from people who took the time to teach him about their jobs and other things that they knew. This is not education as it occurs in schools, where the method involves trying to mold children to the style best suited to reaching a large number of students at once, whether it works for the students or not. For neurodiverse students, unsurprisingly, this doesn't work, and only the lucky ones are able to learn in an individualized fashion with mentors who take the time to teach a child in the way they learn, with the patience and kindness necessary to find that child's style of learning and to help that child develop their own tools and strategies for discovery. All that John has achieved and hopes to achieve stems from learning how to think, research, and teach himself through the guidance of his mentors. It is because of this that there is also an upcoming video on education and a formalized mentorship program that works beyond the student loan forgiveness program. For the sake of brevity, we will simply link the videos covering the funding mechanism in the description. If this is your first time watching one of our videos, this one will not go into detail to explain how the second credit purchased sponsorship pools held by the system subsidize and ultimately fund the programs covered in these videos. All of that background is to explain why it is important to John and to the Federation to protect and fund cultural institutions and public information systems. It's not just that John grew up believing in the importance and independence of Oregon public broadcasting. He also grew up learning to use OPB and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting for his own information and learning, for independent development of ideas. For public broadcasting to inform and educate, it must maintain its public, that is, of the people, nature, and independence from corporate and governmental influence. Recent complaints about NPR involve concern that, as government funding has dried up, public broadcasting must have more advertising and thus has to be more concerned with the happiness of corporate backers. On the other hand, Twitter has decided that NPR is worthy of the state-affiliated media label, similar to the propaganda machines of countries like Russia, despite the reduced funding, implying that NPR is under government control. While public broadcasting is neither government nor corporate controlled, these recent developments point up the need for a better funding solution. The public broadcasting system could be both a financial and artistic beneficiary of the arts and independent journalism programs. Should the time come when it is funded by a fully fledged federation, it would allow public broadcasting to go back to its roots of no commercial breaks, no corporate interests needed. While Federation programs would all be subject to the elected auditor's oversight, their concern is fidelity to the integrity of the Federation funding, not politicians or billionaires catching feelings. In our opinion, we as a people should not have to deal with publicly funded billionaires campaigning to undermine public broadcasting. I would sooner defund the billionaire of government money. We should not have to be stuck with the choice between right-wing corporate media and left-wing corporate media as the only ones with significant reach and resources. We should not be funding billions of dollars on new fossil fuel subsidies that will pay for years of continued development of fossil fuels in the midst of a climate crisis. We do not have much in the way of press that is willing to take off the gloves and really scrutinize our political system and leadership's actions in their treatment of democracy and apathy towards climate change. We don't need lazy and entitled journalists who carry water for social media owners, politicians, and the fossil fuel economy to engage in access journalism. Between the institutional systems of public broadcasting and the decentralized system to be proposed in the journalism video, the Federation journalism system aims to rebuild the fourth estate so that it no longer reflects the false dichotomy of right-wing or left-wing corporate propaganda that we have today. Mistrust in the media leads to the spread of conspiracy theories and acts of terrorism, which are in turn created, spread, and encouraged, in our opinion, by corporate media interests who are actively hostile to the will of the people represented by democracy. We believe there is a need for a truly independent journalism institution and system that answers to truth and evidence, not reporting on tweets from billionaires and their sycophants. If you are interested in your public broadcaster being able to benefit from Federation funding, or hearing more about the independent journalism program in a future video, or if you are interested in an independent press that answers to your representatives as Federation members, please like, share, and subscribe. Let's work together to address the climate crisis with the help of journalists that write and speak the truth so that we can make capitalism pay.